Hello, everyone. If they don't believe in you now, make sure they regret it later. Now stop talking and start building. Because the truth is, success doesn't need a microphone. It needs silence, sacrifice, and savage focus. There comes a moment in every fighter's journey when the world looks at them and sees nothing special. No fame, no followers, no results, just raw effort. And in that moment, the world will test you. It will whisper doubts into your ears. People will ask, what are you even doing with your life? Why don't you take the safe path? Why are you wasting time on something that might never work? They will question your choices, your sacrifices, your hunger, and it will be tempting to explain yourself, to show them your vision, to convince them of your potential. But don't, because success is silent. It grows in the dark. It thrives in discipline, not drama. The moment you start explaining your mission to small-minded people, you give them the power to influence it. You water down your purpose to fit into their limited perspective. And nothing great has ever come from that. The loudest voices in the room are rarely the most powerful. The real power is in the one who's too focused to talk, too hungry to beg, too obsessed with the grind to waste time on validation. They won't understand why you're quiet, why you ghost the parties, why you wake up earlier than them and go to bed with tired eyes and a fulfilled heart. They won't get why you're reading, building, creating, training, while they're talking, gossiping, judging. That's because they weren't built for your road. They weren't given your vision. Your dream didn't knock on their door. It chose you. So why are you explaining your destiny to someone who wasn't chosen? People will doubt you until they can't, until the results punch through the silence and scream for you. That's when the ones who laughed will pretend they supported you. That's when the ones who questioned you will ask how you did it. That's when your silence will sound louder than any explanation ever could. But you can't reach that moment if you're too busy justifying your every step. You weren't born to be understood. You were born to build something so real, so strong, so unstoppable, that it makes the world understand without you saying a word. Every time you stop and explain yourself to someone who isn't even working on themselves, you slow down. You step off your path. You dilute your fire. Stop doing that. Let your work speak. Let your wins answer. Let your silence echo louder than applause. Because in the end, no one remembers what you said in the beginning. They only remember what you showed them in the end. So stop explaining. Start executing. Make them watch. Then make them wonder how they ever doubted you in the first place. They told you that you talk too little, that you're too quiet, too focused, too distant. They said, if you're doing something great, why aren't you telling anyone about it? But the truth is, lions don't need to announce their presence in the jungle. They just move in silence and let their power be known when the time is right. You don't have to explain your grind, your goals, or your sacrifices. You just have to let your results speak louder than your words ever could. People are obsessed with noise. They want instant attention, constant validation, endless applause, even before they've earned it. But you're built different. You understand that real power doesn't chase recognition. It builds it quietly, day by day, moment by moment. While they talk about it, you're becoming it. While they post about the grind, you're deep in the trenches actually grinding. While they try to convince the world they're somebody, you're becoming somebody so real, so powerful, so unshakable, that no one can deny it when you arrive. That's the difference. You don't need to say anything. The results will handle that for you. And when they finally see the outcome, when they finally feel the impact of your relentless effort, they'll remember the silence that came before the storm. They'll realize you weren't absent, you were focused. You weren't avoiding the spotlight, you were preparing to earn it. You didn't disappear, you just stopped needing their permission to rise. Let your results do the talking, because words fade but outcomes last. No one remembers who promised to win. They remember who actually did. They don't care about how many times you said, I'm going to make it. They care about the moment you actually made it. That's why you need to stop explaining, stop defending, and stop proving. You are not here to satisfy their curiosity. You are here to execute your vision, master your craft, and deliver outcomes so undeniable that even your enemies have to respect you. The greatest form of revenge is success, not in a loud, arrogant, in-your-face way, but in a calm, disciplined, savage way, where you keep showing up, keep getting better, and keep climbing, even when no one notices, because one day they will. One day they'll look up and see you standing at the top, Not because you shouted for attention, but because you earned it with quiet consistency and unshakable belief. When you let your results speak, you own your story, not through arguments or explanations, but through undeniable proof. Your transformation becomes your defense. Your growth becomes your response. Your wins become your answer to every critic, every doubter, every person who said you couldn't. They can't argue with execution. They can't debate with results. They can't talk over success. When your life becomes the evidence, there's nothing left to say. So while the world is wasting breath trying to convince, trying to impress, trying to be seen, you just work. You go to war in silence. You train when no one's clapping. You build when no one's watching. You fight through pain. You face your fears. You take the hits and keep moving. Because every step forward is a sentence in the story of your breakthrough. Every drop of sweat is a word your success will one day scream. Don't be afraid of being misunderstood. Don't let their silence about your progress make you doubt your process. They may not see it now. They may not clap now, but keep building anyway. Because when you arrive, the results won't ask for applause. They'll demand it, not with noise, but with presence, not with speeches, but with undeniable truth. And when that day comes, when the world finally sees what you've become, you won't need to explain a single thing. Your results will have already said it all. They always say, make some noise if you want to be heard. But noise is cheap. Everyone's making it. Everyone's talking, shouting, posting, and pretending. Silence, though. Silence is rare, and rare is powerful. In a world that's obsessed with being seen, the ones who disappear into their purpose are the ones who reappear with something the world can't ignore. Silence builds power. Noise drains energy. Every moment you waste trying to prove yourself to people who don't even know what it takes to build something great, you rob your mission of the focus it needs to succeed. Growth doesn't happen in front of the crowd. It doesn't happen on the stage. It happens in the shadows, in quiet rooms, in early mornings and late nights where no one is cheering and no one is watching. That's where the foundation is built, and that foundation is everything. You can't build something unshakable if you're constantly trying to get applause during construction. The silence forces you to focus. It forces you to listen to yourself, not the world. It teaches you to depend on your inner compass, not external approval. When you chase noise, you invite distraction. You start performing instead of progressing. You start doing things for attention instead of alignment. You trade depth for popularity. And that's a dangerous game, because the noise doesn't last. The likes fade. The applause stops. And when it does, if you haven't built something real in the silence, you'll fall with the noise you chased. But if you use the silence to sharpen yourself, to build your strength, to study, to train, to rise without recognition, then when the moment comes, you won't just show up, you'll take over. Power is built in solitude. It's born in the quiet hours when most people are sleeping, scrolling, or talking about things they'll never do. While they're busy trying to look successful, you're silently becoming it. No distractions, no performance, just pure focused effort. That's where the transformation happens. That's where the champions are forged. Don't be afraid to be unseen. Don't be afraid to go silent for a season. That silence is not weakness, it's preparation. You're not invisible. You're incubating. You're protecting the seed while it grows roots. Because real success is rooted deep before it ever reaches the surface. You water it in the dark. You nourish it with discipline. And then one day it breaks through the soil with so much force that no one can deny it anymore. Noise can't give you that. It can't give you strength, clarity, or mastery. Only silence can. But the world doesn't value that, so you have to value it yourself. You have to choose silence over status, solitude over spotlight, depth over display. You have to trust the process when no one else understands it. And you have to be okay with not explaining it, not defending it, not performing it for their approval. That's how power is built, quietly, consistently, unapologetically. You don't need a crowd. You need a reason. You don't need to prove anything. You need to keep moving. You don't need them to understand. You just need to be relentless in your execution, because the silence you embrace today will become the storm you bring tomorrow. And when that storm hits, when your work speaks for itself, all the noise that tried to distract you will fall silent. They won't care how hard it was. They won't ask how many nights you cried yourself to sleep, how many sacrifices you made, or how many times you almost gave up. They won't feel the weight you carried, or the battles you fought behind closed doors. The world doesn't respect struggle. It respects results. It listens when you win. It watches when you rise. That's why explaining yourself is pointless. That's why telling people how difficult your journey is, how committed you are, how badly you want it, all of it means nothing. If there's no outcome they can see, people believe what they can measure, not what they hear. You can tell them you're working on something big, and they'll nod and forget. But if you show them undeniable progress, something they can't unsee, can't deny, can't ignore, that's when they'll pay attention. That's when they'll respect you, not before. And that's not unfair. That's just human nature. Everyone claims they want to win. Everyone says they're grinding, but only a few follow through when it gets ugly, when it gets slow, when it stops being exciting and starts being lonely. The real ones, the ones who live for results, stay when it gets quiet. They don't explain the silence. They embrace it. You don't get respect for trying. You get respect for finishing. You don't get applause for starting. You get applause for showing up long after the crowd is gone, long after the energy fades, long after the motivation dies, and still putting in the work. That's what people remember. You don't have to talk about your dedication. Your discipline will become your proof. You don't have to convince anyone that you've changed. Let the change show up in how you move, how you think, how you win, because one result is louder than 1,000 explanations. One breakthrough shuts down every critic. One undeniable win turns silence into a statement. When you hit a level where your success becomes visible, they won't ask what you went through to get there. They'll just admire that you did. They'll talk about how you made it look easy, not knowing it almost broke you. That's why it's a waste of energy trying to defend your progress to people who haven't even started their own. Let them talk. Let them assume. Let them doubt. Their understanding is not your responsibility. Your job is to build, not beg for validation. Not explain why you're still quiet, not justify why your results haven't shown up yet. Every second you spend defending your journey is a second you could be using to move forward. Every explanation you give to small minds is a distraction from the empire you're building in silence. It's not your words that will change their minds. It's the life you build when you stop needing to be understood. People don't follow dreams. They follow results. They don't care how deep your passion is. They care what you produce with it. You could be the most driven, dedicated person alive, but until the world sees the outcome, you'll just be another voice in the crowd. So don't talk, don't explain, don't try to prove anything. Just focus, grind, execute, and let the results do what your words never could. You were not born to live inside someone else's expectations. You were not put here to shrink your dream until it fits inside the comfort zone of others. You don't owe them understanding. You don't owe them comfort. And you damn sure don't owe them an explanation. The dream was given to you, not them. The vision was placed in your heart, not theirs. So stop handing out permission slips to people who were never meant to sit in the front row of your life. You don't need their approval to be great. You don't need their applause to keep going. And you definitely don't need their opinion to define your purpose. This world will constantly try to make you explain your hunger. It will try to water down your passion, dull your intensity, and make you feel guilty for wanting more. They'll say you're selfish. They'll say you've changed. They'll say you're too ambitious, too different, too focused. But here's the truth. They say those things because your discipline exposes their comfort. Your consistency threatens their excuses. Your growth reminds them of their stagnation. So instead of leveling up, they'll try to pull you back down, into conversations, into doubt, into delay. Don't fall for it. You're not required to explain why you want more. You're not obligated to justify why you're waking up early, training harder, reading more, or working in silence. They won't understand because they're not supposed to. They weren't given your vision, so don't expect them to carry your conviction. You can't teach people to believe in a destiny that doesn't belong to them. That's why silence is not weakness. It's protection. It's your shield against their noise, their doubt, their small talk, and their small minds. The most dangerous thing you can do is put your dream up for debate. When you constantly explain yourself, you invite confusion. You open the door to opinions that dilute your momentum. You let people plant seeds of hesitation inside a garden meant to bloom. Your dream deserves better than that. It deserves protection. It deserves obsession. It deserves a level of focus that doesn't flinch when someone doesn't get it. Some of the greatest things ever built were laughed at before they were respected. Some of the most powerful people in history were doubted, dismissed, and disrespected long before they were honored. That's the path. That's the price. You have to carry the vision when no one else sees it. You have to believe when everyone else walks away.
And above all, you have to protect it, not with noise, but with silence, with work, with action, with proof. You don't owe anyone your peace. You don't owe them a front row seat to your process. You owe it to yourself to go all in without the distraction of doubt. And if they don't get it, let them talk, let them guess, let them watch, but never ever let them stop you, because your dream didn't come with a disclaimer, and your success won't come with an apology. So now the question is simple. Are you ready to stop explaining and start executing? Because the truth is, nobody claps for the grind, nobody celebrates your preparation, nobody sees the nights you stayed up building when the world slept. But one day, if you stay silent, stay focused and stay relentless, they'll see what you built, they'll feel what you created, they'll witness a success so loud it needs no introduction. The world doesn't need your words right now, it needs your example, it needs your fire, your discipline, your breakthrough. And that breakthrough will never come through conversation, it will come through consistency, through showing up again and again and again, long after the noise dies down. They don't believe in you. Perfect. Let that fuel you, let that silence shape you, because one day your success will become the answer to every question they ever asked, and on that day you won't need to say a single word. So stop talking, stop justifying, stop proving, start building, start rising, start winning. And silence, thank you.